Hello and welcome back to the Elevated Entrepreneur. I'm your host as always, Raylan Davis, and today I'm being joined by one of the most fascinating people you're gonna ever meet. She's my good friend Aleya, and we're gonna talk all things energetic healing. Now, I don't even want to give her a bio. I don't want to tell you about it. I just want her to join and literally just go into this crazy highway of energetic healing that we're about to get into. So first and foremost, Aleya, thank you for joining the podcast. I'm really excited about this.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Okay, so this is what we call social proof. Okay, so for those that don't know, we work with Aleya, and she's one of our clients at our agency. But one of the most fascinating things is we always sometimes indulge in the product, so to speak, so we can understand what you do, right? And Kayla did cups of consciousness, and it's her daily cups, rather. It's her daily cups, and she did the meditation. And literally that night, she was like, I had an outer body experience. Like I was lifting out of my body, and like I was fighting it the whole time. And then she said she watched something else of yours and was like, oh shit, like I shouldn't have been fighting it. So your stuff is like, there's so many people out there that say they're, an energy healer, they're this, they're that. And they're like, they're snake oil salespeople. You are not one of those people, like at all. And
it's
she
pretty
even
intense.
She had another experience recently too, where she did it again the next day, and she just went crazy and cleaned the whole house. And then we went back and read the email, and your email said you may experience like an obsession with like cleaning things. And so I was like, what is going on? So first and foremost, I think we start literally here, which is, what is energy healing? Like, what is it? What do you do? Like, because to all of us, like knuckle draggers like me, it's like voodoo. Like, what do you do?
Well, I kind of think about energy fields. All have energy fields, but most of us don't even realize that we have these energy fields, and you could actually even think of it like a cycle. And these energetic fields that have the ability to shift our consciousness, to shift how we feel, to shift our emotions, to shift our behavior, but we don't learn in preschool, first grade, or second grade how to use our energy fields. And so what's happening is we're just unconsciously walking around with this energetic field around us. We're not informing it, directing it, or controlling it. So we're unconsciously, energetically connecting with things and people. And I have a funny little story, a banquet table with sandwiches and pies and cakes. And there was a woman standing in the back of the line. She was like maybe behind 15 people, and they were coming up on the dessert table. And he saw this beautiful cake and with a purple tentacle attached to it. And he followed purple tentacle back to the woman, and she was owning that cake. She was like, that's my piece. And so some people have the ability to see what people are doing energetically. Some people have the ability to feel it, perceive it. And so for me, I'm able to feel, see, perceive what somebody's doing with their energetic fields, inform them, help them become more aware of it, and then basically teach them how to use this energetic muscle that's around them.
So like unconsciously, we maybe are informing energetically what we're doing or whatever, and
all the time.
You kind of help them connect and make it conscious, like
become
almost
aware.
Like it's almost like how people can sometimes dream and then control the dream, like it's almost like that. Almost
kind of, yeah. I mean, it's just basically bringing in more awareness and utilizing a resource that you really do have. And we also have these other dimensions that we do express ourselves in, but again, most people aren't aware of it. Aware of it, you can't use it. It'd be like you have this amazing tool shop and you never open the door, or you have this incredible car and you never open the garage door to get in it, learn how to drive it, and go somewhere. And so it's really just a resource that every single one of us has. Some people are a bit more sensitive, and because they're super sensitive, they're going to be motivated to cultivate more awareness and learn how to use their energetic fields to protect them, decrease empathic sensitivity, manage the emotions, because as we become aware, we become more sensitive. There's no way around it.
What do you have any idea as to why? 'Cause I was just telling you before we jumped on here that more and more I'm noticing how like prevalent this is. Like I didn't know anything about this, and I'll tell you a story about how I even know slightly anything about energy work. But now it seems like people are searching for this. Like, do you have any idea why? Because you've been doing this for 10 plus years. Do you have any idea
Longer.
as to why? Yeah, like why now?
I've been immersed in alternative medicine, doctor of oriental medicine. I was a massage therapist initially, then became a Reiki master, then studying intuitive work. And so I've been in the field for just 30 years. But in the last 2 to 3 years, people are actually opening their eyes like, I need more, and being way more open to these concepts, to these practices, to a different way of perceiving. So much more, they're more open than ever before. And I actually was asking, like, okay, what is this that people are looking for it, hungry for it, open to it? The sun is actually emitting more light, and that sun is coming down and hitting vibrationally the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is your enlightenment gland, and it's in the skull, in the top of, near the top of your head. So when we think about, all we have to look at the statues, the meditative statues, literally an acorn at the top of people's heads. And that looks like the pineal gland. And so we're on a planet and we're getting this light that's triggering a pineal activation, i.e. greater states of enlightenment.
Yeah, because I especially since working with you, I've been thinking more and more about it, and because your Instagram is taken off and your social media is taken off, which tells me people are searching for this thing.
Yeah, they're hungry.
So it's one of those interesting points, like I said before, where it's like, okay, what caused this? And also partly, do you get the sense at all that like maybe some people are like, I've tried everything and I'm still fucking unhappy. I tried everything. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting any success. So why not look over here? Like, I think for me, honestly, because I don't even know the word for it. Like, not that I'm pretty open now, but you would imagine I'm pretty closed as a thinker. But the way I think about things is like
discerning.
Yeah, discerning. And the way I look at things is like, it's not that like I don't believe in it. It's just like if I've never tried it, I'm never gonna say it doesn't work. So it's like I'll give everything a try, I think, and I'm open to the idea. But then I meet people like you, and I'm like, shit, there's got to be something else out there. Like, I think one of the biggest things for me is that, I think I told you the story, but a mentor of mine, he's a very unique individual. Like, he has a PhD in theology and philosophy, and he is really open to the idea of like law of attraction and, frequencies and, all this stuff. And he's also worth millions. And I think to myself, okay, wait, if this guy is crushing it and this is the way that he thinks, there's got to be something here. You know what I mean? Like, where I get I think most people get like, I don't know about that, is when you got the person that's like rubbing crystals together, but like they're broke and they're unhappy, and like every other day. Like, I had somebody that I knew that was in this kind of field, and he was broke, he was miserable in his relationship, and you're like, listen here, like, I don't figure out how that works for you first, and then come over here and tell me how to live my life.
Right. It's really interesting because a lot of people that do energy or are healers in the spiritual world, and they're wanting to increase their vibration and cultivate more awareness and hold stronger energetic fields, what happens is they focus on all of the upper chakras, wanting higher, bigger crown, bigger clarity, more insights, higher dimensions. But what happens to their lower energies? Chakra, the legs, the feet, the second chakra, the third chakra, which are your manifesting chakras. And so a lot of times when people are doing energy work, their finances actually decrease as they're increasing their vibration. And I've figured out a way around that, but you basically have to focus more on the magnetics, the roots, your base chakra, because just the light streaming onto the planet is blowing your crown chakra way open. So I approach it from a very different perspective than a lot of energy practitioners, because it's all about being grounded, because the more grounded you are, the higher vibration you have the capacity to hold. And also the more you have the ability to like gather your creative energy and manifest in the physical dimension, but also dimensions, and actually manifesting in other dimensions to create manifestation here.
So when you say, what do you mean by grounded? Like
a tree, like roots of a tree. And you could imagine that bottom of the spine between, and you imagine a big root going from the base chakra, really linking in with the body, and the body is sending its concept to explain energy work, that you're a soul riding in the body, that your body's a spirit. And when you encourage your body to root in its own unique way, using its energetic fields, you then start to feel a little more grounded, a little more present, a little more stable, and supported.
So do you think that the grounding part, how does the grounding part help you not get to, I guess, in into the weeds of things, whatever, but still, like, because you mentioned the grounding part, it sounds like is how you can manifest more success in your life, but still be not so attached to the outside of those things. So how does that work? Like, how does that grounding part help you do that?
So there's a lot of layers around manifesting, but break it down into just a few little bits. It would be using the inhale to pull yourself into what I call divine line, river of light, front of spine. And then as you're using your awareness in your divine line on the front of the spine, your body also has a divine line that runs through. We have to hold our energy and awareness on our divine lines in order to shift our energetic fields. It's sort of like you have to get yourself in the driver's seat. And then you're inviting your energy to start grounding down in its own unique way. You soul rise to ground in your own unique way. And you then have the ability to start pulling all of your energy out of the future and the past into the present breath of now. When we use our energy fields to get grounded, we then can also simultaneously start pulling all of the anchors, all of the reference points out of the future into the present, out of the past into the present. Most of the time, we're not living in the present moment. So if you're not present, how can you be grounded? How can you be supported? How can you even receive? And so really step one is get in the divine line. Step two, invite some energetic aspect of you to start sending your root down, grounded in your own unique way, so that you then have the ability to just take a breath, pause, and explore what's really being asked for in this moment.
Yeah, and it's also like, I love how you mentioned the idea of being in the now. Because really, like, after I read, I think how I started getting more and more into this world a little bit was reading Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now, right? I think a lot of people start kind of there. And there was a point that he makes in that book where he talks about now, in this moment now, nothing else exists except for now. Like, there's no good, bad, right, sad, anything. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, holy shit, he's right. And so, like, for me, that's kind of the thing I keep going back to is like, where's my mind right now? Well, it's in the future. Well, no wonder I'm so anxious. No wonder I'm so like,
right,
hurry. Like, it's because I'm not here. Like, I'm not even. And then even think about it, like our relationships. Like, I've been thinking more about it, especially since meeting you with Kayla, and being like, well, I'm frustrated right now. Why am I so frustrated? Well, it's because I'm pissed about something she did a week ago. What am I mad about that for? Like, that happened a week ago. It's like, how can I get here? You know what I mean?
I do. And wherever you're holding your energy and your awareness, you could really imagine it like a little anchor. And so if you're thinking about what happened a week ago, or thinking about something a week or a month or a year from now, all of your creative energy, your psychic energy, your healing energy, your awareness, your resource, go to where you're holding your awareness. So that means you don't have your creative energy in the present moment. You might have it in the past or in the future. So then we'll actually use frustration, irritation, anger, and fear as the tap, get our attention to try to re-divert our resources, our creative energy back into this present breath of now. And Eckhart Tolle, the power of now, or the power of the present. Absolutely, because when we're in the present, we then have the capacity to re-divert all of our energetic resources to ourselves in this breath of now, and then start creating what it is we're really wanting to shift or manifest in our life, internally or externally.
And again, that's why I love talking to you so much, because again, I say things that you say, but just not as beautiful. And because like, here's the thing that I've realized in entrepreneurship is people say I want X, but then their daily behaviors are Y, all the way over here. And so they wonder why like they're not getting what they want, they're not manifesting. Well, it's because nothing is aligned. Like your energy, I guess we could say like in this podcast, like your vibration, you're off. Like you keep saying you want X, but you're doing Y every day. And then to me, it's like it's that neural pathway you keep carving. You keep doing the same shit every day. You're gonna get the same results. And so it's fascinating about learning about what you do. Is I'm like, it's interesting. I'm unknowingly tapping into this world. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just like, it's just how I feel. And sometimes it comes out of frustration. I'm like, this is obvious. Like what the fuck? So anyway, it's super fascinating.
Well, there's this really cool process that I work with myself and with my clients. And when you think about what you want, we could all do that. Like, okay, what do I want in a year?
No, Aleya, actually, you said everyone can do that. They can't. I've noticed that. With entrepreneurs, I'm not joking. The first, when people work with us, the first thing, the first day I was on the call with you, I said, what do you want? Like on the set, what do you want? And a lot of people I ask that don't know the answer to that. So that's problem number one, but go ahead.
Or they could use their outer desire manifestation, right? Like, oh, I want to make this amount of money, or I want this type of relationship, or I want to live in this certain house. And then we would say, well, why do you want that? How would you feel if you had that? And then they'd say, well, I'd feel safe, or I'd feel secure, or I'd feel valued, filled. And then what you do is you help them make every single decision, or for ourselves, we think about what it is we want, why we want it, and then we start going after the vibration, the quality of it in every single decision. So in this very moment, if I want fulfillment, how could I make a decision that's in alignment with feeling fulfilled? And then 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, we have the life that we were intending because we're making every single decision process with our priorities.
Yeah, again, the alignment piece. And you're so right in that most of us, and by the way, when I say this, I'm included in this because I catch myself at times being like, well, I said I wanted this kind of life, but I'm behaving in this way. Like, again, it's and I think maybe I'm somewhat fortunate in that I've always been super curious. And I remember you and I'm going to bring up the same conversation we already had, but it's just mainly for the listeners. But remember I told you we were going to sell the house and I had a resistance to it. And it was because I had in my head an ego kind of like, well, if I sell my house and then people see our rental property for the next like year and a half, because we're selling the house so that way we can get our dream house one day in the next like 2 years, and we're saving up money, we're going after it. But in that year, we're going to be in a quote unquote downsize. And here's the funny part: it's a 1,500 square foot house. There's just me and Kayla and my son half the time, and it's like we don't need much. And in my head, literally, I was like, well, shit, everyone's gonna think I'm broke. What does that matter? But I'm just kind of curious of like how that all plays. But at least I'm questioning it and going like, why is that? Versus sometimes we do shit
and having the courage.
Yeah, like it's not gonna be.
And having the
but also, you're gonna think this is super fascinating. So let me ask you this: do you ever do like energy clearings for like houses and like things like that? Okay.
Yeah, every day actually do it on our bed.
You're gonna be really pissed at me because we hired somebody to do it. I didn't know you did that. That was my bad. As somebody that like does your offer, I should have known that, and I used some money. So remember the guy I showed you though?
Yeah.
White. Remember?
Good.
It was So he did it, and like well, Kayla's we haven't been in the house yet, but even that process. Like, let me ask you this. And you can educate me on this. So one of the things he had us do was take salt water, after he did his thing, and then he had us go in the candle and then put salt, mop the floors with salt water.
So salt's super cleansing.
What is that about?
And we want to think about it like imagine these little invisible grids, like a blueprint that's laid down on the floor. And when you walk on these blueprints, you feel the energy of everything that's been there before. And when you're going into a house that's been lived in by other people, you can actually feel their energy, feel their behaviors, their thought forms. And I actually had a really interesting experience I'll tell you later. But when you do the salt with the water, it's a cleansing process and it can clear the vibrational grids in a space.
So it's almost like in our daily lives, we leave behind like energy or vibrations, whatever. Trails. Okay.
Sounds, thoughts,
sometimes
emotions.
We pick that up. So, because again, you know this, but Kayla's, how would you say, like energetically sensitive. So she picks up on that stuff. And I don't. Like, I'm just like oblivious, apparently.
Well, you do, but you might not realize that you're picking. You might be like, why am I irritated right now? Oh, it's just because you felt a grid, but you don't have the awareness of where it came from.
Well, this is okay. I'm not gonna lie, and Kayla knows this, but like, she's been telling stories about that house. There's a moment where she grew up in that house with her parents when they're in between houses, and so she said when she was a kid, like there's this one room in the house that she was like she had nightmares about. She had nightmares about like there being no windows in the house and like no windows in that room anyway, and she was locked in that room, like things like that. And again, I'm just like, okay, babe, like she always tells me stories about this, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And so anyway, we go to the house because we had to like do something, and I turned off the light. Like I turned on the light in this room, and there was 3 light bulbs, and the 2 of the light bulbs were working, one wasn't. I was like, okay, mental note, gotta get a light bulb. I turned off the fucking lights, and that one light bulb that wasn't working started flashing. I turned off the lights, and I'm just staring at it, and then Kayla walks by, and she goes, "What?" I was like, "There's no electricity going to that light bulb, and it was broken like 5 minutes earlier." Like, all right. Then I started thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm really glad we're clearing this damn house because there's something, and that's going to be my office too. So I was like, we gotta do something about this. But you said
there's lots of things you could do.
you said you had a interesting story about like the salt water.
Yeah, not so much water, but I borrowed a car of a friend, and I got in the car, and I started hearing his thoughts that he has when he was in the car, and it was like a mantra. And I was like, I was done borrowing the car. I was like, thanks so much for me letting you your car. And do you ever have this thought form of da 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 da? I don't even remember what the thought form was. And he was like, oh yeah, all the time. And I was like, well, I felt it, right? Like I didn't tell him. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then I was at a friend's house and I was helping her clean her house one day. Every time I walked by through the hall, this one hallway, I heard, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And a couple hours later, I said, do you say to yourself, it's going to be okay a lot? And she's like, oh yeah, that's my mantra all day long. So I could literally hear the words, the emotions, the thoughts of people in particular spaces. And so we do that all the time. And when we're empathic too, like if you move into a space and your behavior changes, you're actually in the behavior of the person who lived there before. This isn't your behavior. And anytime we're empathic, that means we have information. And I have a whole course and stuff that helps people clear empath sensitivity, or basically increase awareness with sensitivity to get out of it. But it's real. It is very palpable, and it's really weird because it's your own a lot of the times, and it's not 80 to 90%.
Again, that's really, well, even too, like, even on a not energetic thing, it's like, even go back to, like, how we're raised as kids and how we behave. Like, some of the behaviors we have today, like, we didn't choose that behavior. No. It's like, even in this own world, we didn't choose it, right? And then you get conscious.
We chose it on some level.
Yeah.
We chose it on some level. That's why I love what you talk about. Yeah.
Well, that's why I love what you talk about, because you talk a lot about responsibility. Like, you got to take responsibility, even for the shit, like, whatever. And so I think that's also a great thing that you talk about. I do want to get to a listener question.
Okay.
It's from Kayla. I guess so. This was her question, because she's been doing your daily cups, and she says, "How do you know when the shifts are happening or working when you're using the daily cups? Like, what are some things you could notice maybe when you're like, okay, no, these are definitely working?" I think is
right.
The question.
So before you listen to a daily cup, even a tall cup, you would do a little inner assessment of self. How's the body feeling? How's your energy level? Do you feel tight? Do you feel constricted, expanded? How's the head feel? How's your back feel? Arms, your hands? You just do this like inner assessment of how am I feeling right now. Then you would listen to the 7-minute meditation of the daily cup or the 45-minute tall cup. And then after that, you would do another inner assessment. Do I feel a shift? Do I feel a change? Do I feel lighter? Sometimes you might actually feel tired after listening to a daily cup or a tall cup, because what's happening is your energy fields are working and they're muscles. And if you haven't been using your muscles, you're going to do a little pound weight 2 or 3 times with the protocols, and then you're going to be really tired. And so it's not that it's bad. It's just that you just did a little workout. You might feel calmer and centered because you just brought anchors back to your core, or whatever the protocol was. So you reference the shift, the way that you're holding yourself in this moment, and then after the fact, and maybe even like a day after the fact, with a tall cup session.
So just like making sure you have the before and after self-assessment, like do
right.
the body check-in, like how am I feeling? That's how you can kind of tell if there's a shift happening. Interesting.
And everyone's like, some people really are very visual, like they love colors or aromas, or they are more mental, of like on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is feeling fabulous. Where am I? I'm at a 2. Oh, I listened to the cup. Now I feel like a 6. That's good. It worked. And with the cups, it's really your energy fields shifting you. Never at any time am I doing anything to anyone, because after 30 years of doing this work, I want people to be empowered. And when you shift yourself, you actually hold that shift way more deeply and longer than if somebody did something to you. So,
follow-up question to that is like, how are you not like exhausted? Like, you know, like again, like, so for me, like, I know people that maybe they were just like getting it. Okay, I'll put it this way. So, you know that I used to help run a massage school. And so when the students were doing massage, one of the first lessons was on grounding. Like, how to leave, I guess the best way to word it, I wasn't obviously a student there, so, it's going to sound ridiculous. But, like, how to leave the energy with the individual, not take it on. Because there was a section on either it was shiatsu or it was Reiki, I can't remember. But one of them, we'd have students, and I like ran the school. So for me, not being a therapist, I was like weirded out by this when I first got there. But we'd have students that come out of the room and be bawling their eyes out after doing a massage to somebody. Or they would get like cranial and they would be like crying and they didn't know why. So, there are some people that don't know how to do that. So I guess, but you're doing that on like 100x level because of how many people you work with on a daily basis. So how the hell do you not go crazy, I think is my question.
3 steps. I hold every single line of attachment. It's like we imagine these little cords 100% attached to my own vibration flowing in my own divine line. So all my hands are to myself. Step 2, totally responsible for my own vibration deep in my core. Would never take responsibility for another person's journey. The moment I do, I feel it. Right? It gets crazy. So immediately give that responsibility back, hold the responsibility deep in the core, and hold every single vibrational gift that I've attained in all of my lifetimes on myself, which creates a strong, coherent field, buffers me and protects me. And then, because I'm not attached and because I'm not responsible for anybody, I'm using all my energy on me, positively, empathically impacting other people, but not do anything to them or for them. Just share information and model a field.
So that right there is like something I wish I would have known when I first became a coach. And I think you and I have talked about this even, where it's something that, this is why I'm also really excited that like, I get to meet you, and then obviously like at our annual event, you're going to come and talk, because that right there would have saved so much like headache for me, because I do something, and I just had a meeting with my team. I take personal responsibility for people all the time. And even with my team, I had literally said on the call today with them, I said, look, I'm not going to do this anymore. I will not take personal, because what happens is if you fail, I'm like, it's my fault. I got to fix it. Like, if you don't get to your like level that Kayla is the one that actually told me this. I have a problem where I think that you could be better than you are. Like I see people's potential.
Right.
Yeah. And if you aren't reaching it, I get fucking pissed. And
so then you're attached to them achieving their potential.
Yeah. And I was like, well, and then again, I think back to you and I'm like, well, I'm not responsible for them. Like, what am I doing? Like, but it's hard to break. It's really hard to break for me. I don't know why, but it
is hard to break. But, and I've had that pattern, right? Because like it's taken me this long to get this strong, coherent field, and that didn't happen overnight. There was many moments of pain and suffering and empathically feeling and being upset and frustrated and irritated and annoyed and afraid, because when we get attached to somebody, and their journey, their behavior, their success, we're essentially saying to them, I don't believe in you, and I don't believe you're capable, and I'm not seeing your mastery. And so when I saw it from that perspective, I'm like, oh my God, how arrogant of me to basically be attached to them, think that they're not capable of doing it, because the moment I get attached to somebody, I then take responsibility for them doing it. I disempower them. Really is my fault they're failing. So of course we're going to feel like it's our fault, because it is. So the solution is lift the attachment off, return the responsibility back to them using the energy, and then hold this space of, you are a frickin' genius. You've got this. And then you're witnessing them in their mastery, and they achieve it. And then you're in your own mastery, modeling it, but you're believing in them, witnessing them, and then you're holding a safe container for them to truly thrive.
And I think this is so important for entrepreneurs, because even just, let's say coaches in particular, because again, I know so many people that get burnt out from coaching,
right?
Not because they don't love it. It's because of how much energy they put into like trying to get somebody, like, look, you can't, and this is something I had to learn the hard way, which is like, if you don't want it, like I can't want it more than you.
Right.
And I have a really bad habit of wanting stuff more than for other people than they want for themselves. Like that's a really bad habit.
And it's devastating to have something in your life that you absolutely love, like coaching or whatever it might be, and you get burned out. That is non-devastating. And so It is your passion. It's your mastery. You love it. It's incredibly fulfilling. It's your service. And how can you do it in a healthy, co-creative way and impact a way bigger audience? The only way to do that is to make this shift around the attachment, the responsibility, and using the energy.
Yeah.
That's how I found it. How I figured it.
So what's funny too about like this work that you do is that how much it can be applied to business, which is also probably why like you work with so many high level people in the first place. But like I think about it from the sales perspective, and there's something that I do naturally. Well, I figured it out, but I didn't know what I was doing until I met you. Which sometimes you'll be on a sales call with a fucking boring person. Let's just say it. They're just boring, okay? And I think about you and Doug a lot. And for those that don't know, if you're listening to this, Doug has an episode. It's Aleya's husband. They're a crazy, amazing, dynamic duo. But I think I'm like trying to listen. I'm trying to pay attention. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is the most, I can't wait till I get off the call. But here's the thing, though, and this is where you come in, is that if you lean into like, well, here's the thing. Maybe I'm putting that energy out unknowingly of like, you're fucking boring, like this, I don't want to do this. And no wonder they're going to say no on the sales call because I'm putting that energy out.
Right. Feel everything you're thinking. And we're getting more sensitive. And we have to be even more mindful of what we're doing with our energetic fields. And our energy fields, we're holding in our energy fields, create what's happening in the emotional fields, the mental fields, the physical fields. So if we can start learning how to the energy fields, we can then start shifting the emotional fields and the thought fields. But if you're that call with that really boring person and you're trying to close the deal thinking, oh my God, I can't wait to get off this call, you might actually be empathically feeling them, thinking that they don't have anything to give and they're afraid of your judgment, thinking that you think they're boring.
That's so fascinating. I never thought of that.
Tricky. So we'll literally feel other people's feelings, but if we don't know how to unpack what's really going on, like, wow, they've got a lot of self-loathing and I'm picking up and I just run, but that's actually how they feel inside themselves. No wonder they're not being successful.
Yeah, or I'm boring. Like, it could be, too, that, like, that this person's so boring picking up. It's because they're bored of me. Like, that could be the other thing, too.
Maybe, but maybe.
Yeah.
Doubt it.
Because
you're really, truly not boring.
Well, I also think about this, right, is that because it's such a fascinating point, because I think about every one of our clients, whether it's in the agency or the academy, every single one of our clients, those calls, I was so excited to work with them. Like, I was like, go back to when you and I met. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, we could do this, we could do that. Like, this could be, it's those calls. And then, so again, that's the energy I'm putting out, though. I'm putting out the energy of like, yo, I cannot wait to get to work with you. And it's not even like a sales tactic. It's just I get excited, and I'm just like,
no,
I can't
and
wait to work
it's a
on this.
resonance field. You're literally calling in people who are a vibrational match, working with those people who are vibrational match. All move to a higher vibrational frequency of coherence, support, abundance, service.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Okay, so here's the one question I was so excited to ask you for, which is, okay, what part of this energy healing world is bullshit? Like, what do you call bullshit on?
Fear and negativity is a perception of disconnection. And I'm not saying that fear and negativity aren't real, but when we're holding our energy awareness internally in direct connection with the light, with the divine spark, then we're perceiving from a state of connection, and everything is connected. Everything is good. Everything is a spectrum of growth. So when I see people out there on their platforms saying, if you don't shift this, the world will be destroyed. We're going into a really dark place. So maybe they're sitting in a really dark place inside themselves and they're just projecting how they perceive in their core onto everything that they're perceiving in the outer world. So it's really the journey of where are you perceiving from and how can you perceive a connected, empowered place, and then see that lens everywhere. See through that lens in every aspect of your life in the world.
So, okay, yeah, oh, yes. Okay, so it's because also with you, I think this is maybe how you can tell if somebody's at a high level, is you mentioned something about being, like, detached. And I think that's part of it, right? Like, you're not, when you help people, when you talk about things, you can tell, you can feel, it's not from a place of, I think this is the way you should live your life. This is just, it is what it is. It's like almost like you telling somebody how to do 2 + 2. Like, how do you do an equation? Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm just going to show you. And that's so true. Now that I see that, like, there are some people out there in the energy world that are like very negative, and they're trying to like be fear mongers versus like, yo, this stuff is just out here. And that's why I love people like you in this field, because you approach things from a place of, I discovered this, I didn't invent it. Like, right. I'm just showing you what I found. And so you become, that's why, like, when I talk about you, I say, like, I never know how, like, the true definition of it. So I just, like, she's a guide. Because, like, you're just showing people. And we talked about this a little bit, too, like, being the Sherpa, you know?
And, I mean, the Sherpa, but not carrying people's bags up the mountain. Just more like, hey, when I was on the mountain at this point, I found that if I went left, I avoided a scree field and that really gnarly cliff. So you can go whatever direction serves you, but if you want a little bit more of a gentle journey, it might be longer, but it's more gentle and you'll actually expand. You could go this way and you could use this practice and this tool. And again, when people are negative or fear-based or angry, we also want to remember that those people that are perceiving from that place are using that discordant to awaken to a greater degree. So it does serve its purpose for a period of time. But people that typically resonate with my work are people that are already pretty awake and pretty sensitive, and they no longer need to use the suffering, the pain, the negativity, slaps to wake themselves up. They're already awake. So it's like, okay, how can we use a more efficient, comfortable tool in our journey that continues our ascension process?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Again, you in self are so important to, like, my life because of how much you've helped Kayla. Because Kayla is, like, a very energetically, like, she notices a lot, but I don't think she ever knew what to do with it. So you're actually kind of helping her with that, which is kind of cool.
Like the context.
The other thing I wanted to, the other thing I want to talk to you about too is, like, your journey of entrepreneurship. Because here, just to give you some context of, like, the podcast in general, is every podcast I talk about entrepreneurship, it's always the sexy shit. There's how much money I'm making. And, you know, it's always been great. And I like to talk about the truth, which is there's always a season of, like, suck. Like, nothing, you don't know what you're doing. And I want to put that with, actually, now that I just said that, I got to tell you the good part and tell everyone the good part. I think arguably you are the greatest content creator I've ever made. Even though you weren't doing content in the way of, like, Instagram, TikTok, you built an audience of people through your email list, and thousands upon thousands of people that share your daily cups, your tall cups, and it was all through word of mouth. Yep. Literally, somebody hearing your meditation, getting the email, and going, I need to share this with somebody. And that led to more. And the most brilliant thing is that it all happened organically. Not online, no nothing. And so to get to that point, though, this is the part that I tell people. I used you as a case study to some of my students. So I was like, look at what she did, was able to do with nothing, right? But here's the caveat. It took her years. Yep. It was years of doing the work well and doing it and being consistent. Every day. Maybe talk to me a little bit about what was the point. Everyone has that story where they're like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Everyone has that story of, like, oh, I'm about to fucking quit. Like, and it's usually, to me, it's like that happens and there's usually a breakthrough afterward. So right. Do you have, like, an idea or a story, rather, of, like, a time that you almost, like, fucking quit and, you know, didn't want to do this anymore?
Every 3 or 4 months. I have a day where it's like that. I have a minute. And, but I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I started my first online business doing, because I was working with people in person. I started, like, literally a private practice at the age of 22. Massage, Reiki, then Dr. Roynal medicine, acupuncture. And then in 2005, I started my first online practice, my first online service, which was called The Journey Work. Because there was no bandwidth, everybody's on dial-up. So everybody calls in on the phone and they share their bits and we do this energy balancing session. So that started in 2005. And we did that in 2006, 2007, 2008. And then in 2009, I started doing the daily cups. And then in 2011, I started...
Wait, hold on a second. How many people were on this call when you were doing it?
200, 300.
Holy shit. So you were doing, like, virtual seminars, how everyone does on Zooms, on phone dial-up.
Yeah. In 2005.
So this is the shit that I get so excited about.
Wait,
oh my God.
Listen to this. I would have to burned CDs of all the people that wanted to buy the CDs of the session, and then I had to manually run their credit cards at the end of every single session. We only did it 4 weeks. right? But every month it was like 6 hours, burning CDs, mailing the CDs, running the credit cards, all manual.
Okay, so this is
sending
why
out an email.
This is why I love doing this podcast, and here's why: is because people refuse when it comes to marketing to go back to the source. And so what I mean by that is, like, one of my best people that I learned marketing from is direct mailers, because they had to do it the hard way, which means there's a lot of stuff they had to not do. So let me go back. So you decide you're going to do this, virtually, sort of, because you have it over the phone. How did you reach them? Like, how did you get them to sign up for this call? Like, what was that process like?
We both had our own clients that we do phone sessions with or come in person. And so we just started telling them, we would see them or do phone sessions. Hey, we're doing this thing. And for a time it was donation, right? So people could pay $1 or $5 or $20 or $50. It didn't really matter. And so it was the information and the material out there. And it just organically built by word of mouth and by the clients that we'd been seeing for, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, depending on the location.
And then how long were these phone sessions?
Like an hour once a month.
Oh my God, you were doing webinars in 2005 just over the phone. That's so cool. All right. Sorry, continue.
And then I started doing webinars just kind of on my own specific topics in like 2007 and 2008, 2009. It'd be like, let's lose weight or let's make money or whatever it is. And then I would do like an hour phone call basically with, 10 or 20 or 50 people, depending on how many people showed up or signed up. And then in 2009, I started doing the daily cups.
Wait, back up for a second. I'm going to keep cutting you off. So you did the marketing genius thing of saying, here's your cake. You want to lose weight. They would come to the phone and you give them the broccoli, which was what they actually needed.
Right.
Oh
and then
God.
here are the practices.
Aleya, you're like the greatest marketer and accidental content creator ever I've ever met. Like, this genius.
Thank you. It's been a journey. And it's so funny, when I first met my husband, he was like, so how do you feel about computers? And I was like, I hate them. I'm never touching them, ever. And then he's like, you might want to look at that from a slightly different perspective. And I was like, why? I'm high vibe. Like, I had a little bit of work to do. And this was in 2004, I first met him. And so anyhow, it's just this journey. And he's like, all right, let me show you how to, put an attachment in an email. And I'm like, no, it's going to crash my computer. Like 4 hours looking for a file. I mean, it was just devastating. So it's been a journey, major growth process. And now I've got, a couple websites and 7 revenue streams and, cups, daily cuppers. So in 2009, I started doing the daily cups and delivering those to people all over the world. And again, just my organic email list, only email marketing, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Click here to sign up if you want. And basically, I haven't spent more than $10,000 in the however many years since 2005. Haven't spent more than $1,000 on marketing, ever. So in that whole time, that's it, because I realized that every penny that I put towards marketing, nothing really happened. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to do it with the people that I know and my list, and the circle just kind of keeps growing. And now YouTube channels, and we've got Instagram, and you are the first person that's really come in and like, hey, Aleya, let's get you out there. And I'm like, all right, it's time.
I think it's part of, it's like having it be a time, but also this is why I think from a marketing perspective, for me anyway, I just want to enhance what you're already doing. Like, what you're already doing is clearly working.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, we need to show a spotlight on that. Because like, what I love about what you're doing is you built a very strong community of people that love what you do. Yeah. And so the game is, okay, that worked. And, I told you even from the get-go, I'm like, I don't know if I can even help you. I think I can, but we'll try. And because all I'm doing is, okay, that clearly worked, behind closed doors. How can we make that happen where everyone can see? And that's the only thing. It's just enhancing what you already do. And so that's why, again, it's super fascinating, that road. Because I love reading. There's a book by Brendan Bouchard. He's like a really well-known like digital coach. But he's been doing it for like years and years. Like Tony Robbins. Like he started around the same time, right? Yeah. So like you have these people that were like, I literally have and Kayla's mother is phenomenal. She tells me all these books to read. But like I have DVDs from these people and CDs from these people. Like remember, like because Tony Robbins used to do like tapes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the thing that's crazy to me, and this is why I think I love so much doing this podcast, is because I still have so much to learn about marketing from you, because you did it the hard way.
Right.
Like, isn't it crazy to think about this, that like back in the day with direct mail or the way you did it, things had to be close to perfect. Whereas now I can put out a reel of yours, fuck up the caption and go, oops, and then delete it and do it again.
Right.
Like,
right.
I tell some like old school marketers that, and they're just like, what? We could never, you know?
But here's the interesting thing. People are vibrationally shifting. So we have to match that vibrational shift and match them where they are. Because marketed the way that I did years ago, it would fall flat. And so that's this constant shifting and changing of matching the vibration, tuning into the frequency, tuning into what are their energetic emotional needs, and targeting that, and then delivering what people are really ready for and yearning for and open for in the moment. And timing is essential, absolutely essential. So if we miss it by a day, we might as well not even do it.
That's why I like, again, I have to say, like, you know, you and Doug are my favorites, and you guys know that. But I think it's too because you understand the game. Like, for example, like, there's all these people that are, this is like, I asked you what is bullshit energy work. I'll tell you what's bullshit marketing. There's people online that are like, no, I can get you to this many followers and this many reach and do all this. Here's the thing. We don't know what works and why it works. We have no clue. Like, there are some best practices, right? Like, have a good hook. Make sure it's valuable content. Besides that, it's really a game of, you know, when did you post it?
Intuition.
Yeah. But what we did with you is one of my favorite things we've done, which is everyone said, and we're talking about this before we even hit record, everyone's like, be fast. Under, you know, 45 seconds. Everyone says 45 seconds is the key. You have to have a really strong hook, and then it's got to be really, really quick and whatever. And with you, and this is why I love you, is because you let me experiment. And I said, I want you to be you, because you have this really amazing way of taking an energy that's high and then bringing it down and then like matching it with your meditation. I go, we're going to slow the internet down. And it like, and I'm not going to lie, and we told you, like, my team was like, I don't know if this is going to work, Raylan, but we'll go with it, like, whatever. And then we, you know, one of your reels, like, you know, get 42,000 views. And it was interesting because we matched the internet, because it was what you did, and I didn't tell you to do this, you did this on your own. You had a really quick hook, and the way you entered it was fast. So you matched their energy almost online, because they're scrolling, so they're seeing fast. Like, you came in fast, but then you slowed down, and then you slowed time down for them, and they stayed. And the reason why I got so high in views wasn't that many people saw it. It was the watch time was increased. So that means that what that tells me when that goes high is that people were watching for a long time, and that told the algorithm, hey, send this to more people. That's the game nowadays. It's like watch time. So you increased everyone's watch time because you slowed down. So it's just, again, working with you is so fascinating, because again, it's like, the question is, can we sincerely make people slow down in their days online and going to a place where nobody does that?
Absolutely. And can we learn how to hold a really strong, coherent field that grabs the attention of the energy fields of the person watching, and they go, oh, there's something, because our energy fields are 1,000 times faster than our mind.
How so? Energy feels is faster than our minds.
Way faster.
So we feel shit before we can think it's happening.
Way. It's what we're watching. That's what we're watching from. That's what we're feeling from, is this energetic field. And the moment that we feel it, we either get drawn to it or repulsed.
Yeah. And then they make the choice, right? They stay or they go.
Yeah. Like, if you get drawn to it, oh, that's engaging. Feel. Is there something here for me? Is this appropriate for me where I am at this point in time in my journey? No, it's too much. Scooting out. Or, ooh, I've been looking for this. Go. Or, oh, no. Go to fear. Then we could bring in all of these thought forms and project, like, devil work, and run, right? Like, whatever the story is, it really doesn't matter. It's just the energy fields responding to, this is appropriate, this is not.
Yeah. No, and sometimes it's like a matter of like, because this is what I feel like too. I can almost guarantee you there's somebody out there that was like listening, and they saved it, and then were like, you know, I'm going to come back to this later because I don't know if I'm ready for this right now.
Right.
And that's cool too. Like, I really like that.
Or they're listening in another dimension.
How so?
So
this is where you usually lose me. The dimensions part is where I'm like, I don't understand anything what you're saying.
So we're on the lobby floor, and we're in a hotel, and there's 20, 30, 40 floors above us. Every single floor is a different dimension. When we bring our awareness to another dimension, a higher floor, we tap into different information. We can actually do things. You can multitask. You can get incredible things accomplished with consciously using your multidimensional self. So you're basically training yourself to tap into another dimension. Most people do it unconsciously, and receive information in these other dimensions, the higher floor of the hotel. You get it and integrate it there, and then you reflect it to your conscious awareness here in the lobby.
So, by the way, have you ever seen Everything Always All the Time?
No.
I gotta send you a link. It's fascinating. It basically, you just described that movie. It's essentially somebody tapping in and connecting to themselves in different dimensions, and then they learn the information. Like, again, it's an action movie.
Yeah.
So she connects with somebody herself in a different universe that knows kung fu, and then she can now do kung fu, like that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's fascinating. It's a fascinating movie. But anyway, that's how I learn shit. Is I'm like, oh, I know, I've seen that somewhere. And so, anyway, I appreciate you, Aleya. We're going to jump off, but I want to say I appreciate you because, unfortunately for you, you have to talk to me a lot because you're my client, but also you allow me to ask stupid questions. And I think if there was a lesson in anything, is that I think the only zone of genius I have is I'm not afraid to ask a dumb question. I'm fascinated by people, and you're one of the most fascinating people I know. So thank you so much for being willing to jump on the podcast.
Thank you. It's a joy and an honor, and I love all your questions.
All right, I appreciate you. Everyone that's listening to this, go check out Daily Cups. I'll have a link in the description. It'll change your life. I mean that, and I appreciate you listening.